to CheapSkate. I'm Cameron and this is a video of me making a pedal board. I wanted to make it really cheap, really easy, something that anybody could do, but the main reason for me making it really simple and really cheap is I don't really know what I want with my pedal board. I've never owned one before, so I'm just going to make it the way I think. I'm not worried too much about the size. I don't have many pedals anyway, and I want to make it like a carry box as well. So I thought it'd be good that it'd be something that you could imitate, build it with easy tools, and not really need plans or anything to make. That's the theory, so we'll see how we go. I'm using my bandsaw here to cut this, but really you could just use a handsaw. Alright, so the reason I'm cutting it to this size here is because that's where it hits my bandsaw, so it's not going to be any longer than that. If I wanted it to be, I could use my table saw or something, but I'm just going to use this square here to mark a straight cut line. This is just some cheap plywood, 7mm, and I really hate this plywood. So I'm going to use this on the deck where the pedal boards sit, because it's just going to be covered in Velcro and stuff anyway, so what it looks like doesn't matter. I got some piece of pine, dressed pine, it's fairly cheap. So we'll just mark it, set it to the side. All I'm going to do is make it the same size as the piece I just cut. I don't know what size it is, I haven't done any measurements or anything. So we'll just put a line there, mark there. So my original idea was to have, get this stuff out of the way, was to have this like this, maybe cut a little bit of a slope into it, so this would sit on there at the front of the footboard, but I think that's too high, so I'm going to put it down that way. So now I just need to cut an angle into this, so it will sit flush on here and be nice and strong. So what I want to do is cut a piece of wood on an angle. And so what I've done is I've put the actual fence in and made another fence next to it, so if I tilt it like that and hold it so it's hard against the timber and hard against the fence on an angle, that's going to cut the angle I want all the way along. Seems to have worked alright. Well, the piece that I cut off, you can probably see here the edge is a bit wavy, so it mustn't have been a perfectly straight cut, I must have moved around a little bit. But it seems to be okay. Let's see how it fits. Okay, well it fits pretty well on there. Can't really see any gaps too much, and that's a pretty good angle, kind of like that. Alright, well, so I'm going to attach these two pieces now, and I've just clamped that bit of timber in place with a couple of clamps, and I'm going to drill a few guide holes, 3 guide holes in here, because I've got some little 3mm screws, I'm going to drill 2mm holes. I'll drill the guide holes, then I'll put glue on it. I'll glue it on and use the screws to attach it. It just means I can keep working on it while the glue's drying, because the screws are in there, and I won't have to worry about having clamps and stuff on it and not finishing. Countersink. Got to countersink these because I'm using countersunk screws. Oops, that's too far. Wow, this timber's soft. I'm went way too far. Oh, I almost went right through it. I might make another hole with the drill. Now, if you don't have glue and you can't be bothered buying glue and using it, then you don't have to. You could just use the screws or nails. You might want to put a couple more in though, if that's what you're doing. So that's on now. The glue will dry, but I've screwed the holding in place, doesn't matter. That's where I accidentally, I don't know if you can see how well you can see from there, where I countersucked that first one, just like almost went straight through this plywood. Must be very soft wood. Anyway, and that's the one where I put that in, it actually went in quite deep. Alright. So now that that bit's on, when it's flat, we can see here's the angle of our kipple, which is good. Can you see that? I think you can. It's in the way, hopefully. So now we want something to go under here. If I just put a piece of wood there, it kind of doesn't really fit properly. This is a bit of scrap timber. This type of pine is super cheap at the local hardware store. It's like really super cheap. It's very low quality timber. But what we can do is basically just get a piece like this, put it up against here, and draw a pencil line, and then we know where to cut it. So I'll get a pencil, which should be just here somewhere. There it is. What I'm going to do to make it easier to draw so I don't have to hold everything at the same time, I'm actually just going to clamp this down. Position. So we go something like that. Yep, so that's clamped down with the flat surface down. So just put my block here, I think you can see that on the camera, maybe you can. I'm just going to get my pencil here with this pretty much, I might just come in a tad from the end, just a tiny bit, and then I'm going to get the pencil here and just mark that line on the inside. Now in theory that should be the same angle for the other side, but it might not work out and I can't be bothered, so we're just going to do the other side at the same time. Like I say, this is very cheap wood, I'm not trying to save these bits or anything like that. I've got the two angles there, we'll just cut those out on the bandsaw now. So we're deliberately doing a bit of a rough job here, okay, so that anybody can do it and you can just use a handsaw. In fact, it'll probably come out better with a handsaw than what I'm about to do. I just started putting glue on and I thought I'm not going to be able to, the holes aren't in exactly the right spot, so I'm just going to put these slightly through the board so that I can locate the holes by touch. They just have the ends of the screws just sticking out past, and then I should be able to find the holes, although because the timber is very soft it might not work out that way. A bit more glue in this one. Put this one around about here. You should find the holes. Well, if that's not the right spot, it's out of luck. It's going in. Looks pretty good. Oops. Okay, I didn't countersink these ones enough this side. Oh well. This one's a little bit further away. That feels good right there. I think that they just went into the holes. Yep. This one's better. Alright, so that's that part done. Alright, so I took the clamp off that was holding it on, and there you can see the underneath. Right. And basically there now you've got a pedal board. Strong enough, the glue's still drying but the screws are holding together. It's strong enough and you could function with. While the glue is drying, I'm just going to put some holes in here for wires and stuff to go through. I guess I'm going to have them up fairly high-ish. Maybe we can do 2 sets of holes, but I'll do one set up here, and maybe some more holes. The ones down here, but we'll see. I was going to do a 16mm hole, but I've decided to go with 20 mils. 25 mils is an inch, roundabout, so 20 mils is, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch, maybe a bit more. I decided to go a little bit bigger because once you make a hole, it's really hard to make it bigger. So, yeah, that's why. So I think if I put one about here. Oh, the masking tape is to stop or help prevent chip out in the wood. And since this just ripped the tape off anyway, it didn't really matter. This is a spade and they're pretty good at preventing chip out on the surface that you're drilling into anyway. I've got massive chip out on the back, but that's just bound to happen and I don't really care too much about chip out on the back. Actually, should I? No, I don't care. And put another one about here. Expensive build. If I was doing something I wanted to sell, I would have to avoid this from happening. But yeah, I mean, if you bought something and it looked like this on either side, you'd go, what? But I don't care. I could have, even taping this would have made it difficult because it's plywood like this. The top layer just wants to break off when you're coming pushing into it. I guess if you had some super duper sharp blade, you might get through it without that happening, and you put tape as well. Or you could put a solid block of wood underneath it and maybe glue it on using the lithius trick, and then it might not chip out because the wood would hold this layer in place. That would probably be the way to do it. But no one's going to see it, and it's just for me, so I don't care. And if you want to do it fast, just do it like that. Time to put the Velcro dots and stuff on here. I could use strips, but I had dots and I didn't want to go to the expense of buying strips when I already had the dots, so I'm going to use dots. So I'm just rubbing a bit of alcohol on here just to remove any oils or dust and stuff like that we might have got on here during the building process. Well, that might have been on here anyway. And that'll just help the glue self-adhesive to stick. Now my finger is.
one of those is, I don't want to cover up the serial number. And put one down here. About here. Been hold in place, I think. And I guess the others I'll stick them on as I need them. Separate bag within a bag so they don't just all stick to each other. So I didn't want to cover up the serial number. No. Is it actually a serial number? No, this is made sure. Let's have that one there, which is kind of there. It's probably going to be there. The only trouble is these little rubber pads, which these won't stick to very well. These rubber pads are keeping it raised, so I don't know how well this is going to stick. Hey, that's alright. That'll work. That concludes the making of the pedal board. The next episode we make a carry storage box for the pedals and pedal board, so tune in for that. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe to CheapSkate.